Well, welcome everyone to Girls Night Out. Me and Michelle Hanna, we're here. We're starting just a little bit early than what we normally do. We usually start around 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but we were both able to start a little bit earlier. And today we are going to be getting into Proverbs 31. And we'll also be paralleling 1 Peter 3. But after introductions, I'm going to come back on because we want to talk briefly for just a few minutes about this winter storm that has been going on, because we have a lot of our brothers and sisters that live in these states that is really being affected by the snow and the ice storms. You know, we've got a sister in the Lord that I know that lives in Texas and just other various places. And so we want to just touch on this and remind everyone to keep our brethren in prayer, and just pray, you know, if there's any way, any means that you have available that you can help, especially if you live in this area but you're doing okay. If you have any kind of extra supplies or any kind of means that you can go, you know, knock on your neighbor's door to see what it is that you could do to help them. This is something that we need to do. But let me go ahead and hand it over to Michelle for her to introduce herself, and then I'll be back on, because I saw something that if I can explain it to where you can understand my explanation. This might be something that you have these items in your house, and if you live in these states that, you know, you don't have internet connection, and you have no power, this may be a very easy solution that you can get some added heat into your home. But I'll be back after Michelle introduces herself and plugs just various things that she has going on.
Hi, I'm Michelle Hannah. I just want to say hello to everybody and remind you guys that I chat in the live chat. If I try to pull up my on my phone the Hangout, it lags the internet so bad. That's why I don't do that. I can see you guys' comments, and just so you know that, and I'm not being snooty or rude. I can't chat, but I'm thankful for our hangout. And like Miss Wendy said, it's a good thing to do Wednesday halfway through the week. I feel like we need to have Bible study, and as often as we can. And I'm just really thankful for our hangout that we do, and learning about women, and learning about, you know, talking about our issues and problems and things. Because women are different from men, and a lot of times, people forget that we have a set of issues, and men have their set of issues. So I'm really thankful for the girls' night out.
Oh, amen, amen. And of course, you know, we never want our brothers in the Lord who may be tuning in. We never want you to feel excluded. Men are more than welcome to join us here when it's time for Girls Night Out. We do this every other Wednesday, and the alternating Wednesdays, I am with a couple of brothers in the Lord, and we are doing Grace Believers Fellowship, where we are currently in the book of James. But for Girls Night Out, we have been really focusing on women in the Bible. We have already completed the book of Ruth, and we have also, the last time that we were here for Girls Night Out, we finished the book of Esther. We took maybe 2 or 3 times to go through the book of Esther, just because there's more chapters. And that was very eye-opening, just to see how the Lord worked through Queen Esther in saving the Jewish people. But I realize that many of you who may be watching, you live in an area that is being affected by this winter storm. And one thing that Michelle was mentioning to her son-in-law is those of you who maybe don't have like a wood burning stove. There are various places that you can go to look for this. Like if you would lose your power, your electricity. Well, if you have a wood burning stove, even a smaller one, that is a way that you can heat your house as well as be able to cook. And so, Michelle, maybe here in a minute, you can give a little bit more information about that, because you have one of those in your home, and you told me before we went live that you have used it many times. But I saw a post today of a way that you can use things already in your home, that many of you probably already have these items, and you can make a very easy heat source. What you need is one of those clay flower pots, that you plant flowers in. It usually looks like the Ray clay flower pots, and you need like 2 bricks or something of that nature. And what you do is you're going to turn the flower pot upside down, and you're going to have it rest on the 2 on the 2 bricks or cinder blocks, or just something that you can do like a makeshift little cubby. And then you want to put the picture showed 4 tea light candles, and you stick those underneath the flower pot, because the way you space out the bricks is it's supposed to just have the edges of the flower pot sit on top of the brick, so you have the middle open. And then the picture showed 4 tea lights, and you light all 4 of the tea lights, or you can even have small votive candles. And that just the way that structure is set up, that will help give added heat to a room, and you don't need electricity for that. And so when I saw that this morning, I was really impressed, because I was really thinking about all the people that are being really affected by this winter storm. But Michelle, tell everyone a little bit more about wood stoves, and where might be the best place that they could find one, if that's a route that they want to go in finding one that isn't going to cost like an arm and a leg.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't know what you were talking about. Um, that rooster's just yelling out there. If y'all hear him, that's what it is. He's pretty close to my window. Um, but the terracotta pots, I actually saw that, and I saw where they had sat the terracotta pot down on. Most of the terracotta pots have a terracotta base, and then when you flip it over, like you said, they've got a hole in the top. So that would heat when that terracotta heats up. That's how you're getting your it's like a radiating heat. So it would warm a room.
Or you could sit like right in front of it and just warm your hands,
Yeah. Also there is with our stove, I mean, you don't have to get no huge wood stove to put in your house. Get something that's small and something that's got a flat surface on top. That's what you're after, because when you when you're without power and you start using your stove, at that point, it becomes two sources. You can heat with it and you can cook with it. You can heat soup or cook, or I mean, I've done a lot of cooking. Power's been out and things like that on a wood stove because I'm pretty country, so every home I've ever lived in has had a wood source of heat as either the main source or backup. So my grandmother cooked on a wood cook stove her whole life until she passed away. So um, that's an option. If you go on YouTube, you can find many ways to include the terracotta pot heat source. We have seen a wood stove made out of two barrels. You can actually buy a kit and set up a wood stove out of two barrels or just one barrel, whichever. If you do the two barrel method, then you've got the radiation, you've got a heat coming from the bottom, plus the top gets warm as well. So you've got, it's going to be some seriously warm heat. You just have to be really careful and make sure with any kind of wood heat like that that you pipe it right. Make sure that you put a fire resistant heat. They make something that's like a fire resistant heat board that you can line your walls with. A lot of people use rock. Now, I seen a girl this very week. She's a friend of mine on Facebook that did a little corner in her house and did some rock work in the corner and sat I don't know if it was a gas or wood heater, but you know, she made a beautiful. She put it on the walls and the floor, and made a place for that heater, and it was really pretty, and that would serve as your, you know, to protect from fire and things like that. Because we, you know, I have seen wood stove fires. When I was young, there we had one, and then as I've gotten older, we had one. So you have to make sure that your pipe and things, your flue, chimney, and everything is in really good working condition for that, and put it, install it in your house. You may never use it. You know, like the people in Texas are really used to warm weather. So I know they weren't expecting this. You need two sources of heat. That you need one maybe that relies on your electricity and your gas or whatever, but you need something else that don't rely on either one of those. Because from what I've seen in the past, you know, with the stuff going on with the natural oil and the gas, and everybody keeps shutting everything down, those options may not be there in the future, you know. And everybody's been, we watch a lot of prepper shows, and I love Prepper Nation. It's a big group of people that have awesome ideas and ways to, you know, survive when, if things are bad like they are in Texas right now. So I wish people would really try and think ahead and make sure that they have everything they need. A bad situation's not like a global emergency. A bad situation is like your power goes out for 2 weeks. What you gonna do? Sit there twiddling your thumbs and it 18 degrees outside? You know, that is a bad an emergency situation. So I think a lot of times people think about emergency situations and they think like disasters. But
Right, like flood or hurricane or fires,
yeah,
when there could be, you know, just like what happened with these states, you know, you always want to make sure that you have extra warm clothing. You want to have extra supplies of food, because if you're snowed in or you're iced in and you can't get to the grocery store, you need to have at least a week or 2 weeks, if not a month's worth of
Yeah.
food to be able to sustain yourself. Have extra blankets. They always say, especially living in states, where it's just common you get a lot of snow, is to have like an emergency kit in your car that has blankets and other things that you could do, because if you would get in like a snowstorm and you would get stranded in your car, you have to be able to keep warm until help arrives to be able to get you out and get you to safety.
Yeah, even in the summer, if you drive an hour to work and there's a chance that something could happen, you need a backpack in your car with suitable clothes for whatever temperature it is, maybe a couple cans of food thrown in there, or like when I used to drive to work, I wore boots most of the time to work, or dress shoes there at the end. So I had a bag in my car with tennis shoes, boots, some food, some extra clothes, um, just in case. I mean, what happens if you can't get through and you needed to walk home to get back to your family?
Exactly.
Have you mapped out a route that you can go? You may not be able to use the main road. Um, do you know how to get home through the woods? I mean, people just don't think about stuff like that anymore. Maybe the roads are flooded out, or, there's just a number of things that could happen. We've seen roads in cities and stuff underwater, so you just need to think ahead and plan ahead, especially when you have children and grandbabies and things like that. Like my son-in-law is in Texas, and my little grandbaby, and talking to him, it just broke my heart night before last. And him trying to figure out how to get them heat and stuff, because they had run out of propane and, had the means to get more, but, the propane just wasn't there yet. So he couldn't. And there he was, just stuck with his baby. And I was like, what are you doing? He's like, we've got tons of sleeping bags, blankets, and there's an ice in our forecast for tonight. So today I've been going around making sure I have all that stuff is ready to go. So you have to think. I see a lot of people, how much food you got in your pantry? Well, I've got enough for today and tomorrow. Any more, that don't cut it. It just really, it don't. So
so it's like there's many ways that you can be creative to make sure that you have the things that you need. And we've also found that there's a lot of other things that like the terracotta pots. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe in the winter, we're not planting flowers or anything, but look at the other ways that those things can be used to help. And so, and this is where, pray, ask God for wisdom. Okay, what do I have in my house that could be used as some other type of emergency source, and
exactly.
and that's why it's good to, be friendly with your neighbors, because you may have something that can help them. They may have something that can help you.
Yeah, Grandma used to always say, pray for the best, prepare for the worst.
Yep. Yep.
That's, that's a good thought to keep inside your head. What ifs are not being paranoid or being, what do they call it, tinfoil hatted.
Right. Right.
That's not it at all. The fact is, I'm a mother. I want my, um, if something happens to where I don't have heat or water or whatever, I want to make sure my family's taken care of. And that's the bottom line. So yes, I'm gonna prepare for, some what ifs if they come about. And I don't want to be sitting here without any way to, feed my kids or, you know, help my neighbors. Or my neighbors had something happen this past week. Their son passed away. And old folks, when something like that happened to their neighbors or somewhere in their community, my grandmother and her neighbor immediately started cooking.
Mm-hmm.
If they knew somebody was having a hard time, they would take food. They would take, find out what the family needed and take things. People don't do that anymore. Um, and I was thankful because I found out about my neighbor, and I immediately said, okay, what can I cook to start taking food down there in the morning? And I did not have to go to the grocery store. And that's the way I like things. If somebody's in need, I want to have enough stuff on hand to help them. And, if I need to cook a dinner, and that's what I did. I cooked breakfast and dinner that day, and they probably had plenty of leftover enough for supper to where they didn't have to cook, and it was meals. It wasn't just a cake or a pie or something like that. But that's my thought on things. I want to have enough stuff in my freezer and in my pantry that if I need to cook for someone, it's here. And I don't have to run
Exactly.
out cold to get food. So,
Yeah, and these are things, I mean, because you may not be, tech savvy, or know how to do repairs, or even rig things up, like a lot of our husbands and brothers and fathers and stuff can do. But simply, putting together a quick meal, a home cooked meal, and taking it over, that can make all the difference in the world to somebody who is struggling. Think of, like, single parents out there, whether it's a single mom or a single dad, and they've got little ones, especially if they don't have power, but yet you have power, or you have that wood burning stove. You could make up, a casserole, or something like that, bake it and take it over to them, because you know that they're struggling. I mean, a hot cooked meal sure tastes a lot better than having to eat cold SpaghettiOs out of a can. I mean, you would obviously do what you have to do, and you'd be thankful for those cold SpaghettiOs. But just thinking outside the box, thinking about the other person, okay, how would I like to be treated if this were me? If I've lost my power and my neighbors knew, that I'm struggling, I would just I would probably burst into tears if I had no heat, no electricity. I didn't have a wood burning stove, but yet my neighbors knocked on the door. Maybe they brought me extra blankets, and they brought me a couple of meals or something that that would feed me and my children and my family. I mean, it's just, do what you
amen.
can. God gives us enough extra that we can always do something to help somebody else.
Yes, amen. That was what I was getting ready to say. If the Lord blesses you, you need to bless somebody else. And
Right.
that's the way you need to look at things. Um, if he's seen fit to bless me with above and beyond, and I'm gonna try my hardest to bless somebody else with the blessing that he's gave me. And I think that's the way that we should um, look at things. And a lot of what we're getting ready to study today is about this very thing. Um, you know, so I think we'll see a lot of this in our study today.
Yes, yes, we will. All right. Well, we are going to be in the book of Proverbs, chapter 31, and probably won't get all the way through this time, but we'll just start at the top. And usually, how me and Michelle do this is we take turns reading because we go verse by verse. So I'll start out with the first few verses. We'll talk about it, and then we'll just kind of continue on that way. The words of King Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him. What, my son, and what, the son of my womb, and what, the son of my vows. Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. It is not for kings, O Lemuels, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. And so what I see in these first 5 verses is this is a mother of a king. Okay, king's name is King Lemuel. Okay, so probably if she isn't currently, at one point, because it would have been her husband that would have been king. But then usually how the succession runs is when the father dies, then the son takes the throne. And so she would have been like the queen mother, basically, is kind of, how I have seen things historically. Okay, so she's noting what my son and what the son of my womb and what the son of my vows. Okay, the son of my vows. Okay, she took marriage vows to her husband, and through that union, brought forth this son who eventually did become king. And then she's warning, and this is something that, even if all you have is daughters, you're going to give these same kinds of warnings. Don't give your strength unto men. Don't do things that are going to destroy your virtue. And like, because I've had all sons, I've really tried to express to my sons, especially at the age of dating, how they are to treat women, that she may not be your wife, it may not, the dating may not lead to that, but keep in mind, more than likely she will become someone else's wife. And so you don't want to do to her to where she's tarnished and tainted. And so just the respect of the opposite sex is really, really important. So give not thy strength unto women. And we think about Samson, Samson and Delilah. What did he do? He revealed what his strength was. The strength was in his hair, and we all know what happened with that. Nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. Okay. For it is not kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink, lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted. God was very, very specific about how kings are to treat the throne and the appointment that God has put them in. And so it is like his mother knows the full weight of what her son now bears as king. And it's almost kind of like, in case he wasn't fully aware of all of the ramifications or the responsibilities of him being king, she starts out Proverbs 31 just reminding him how sober-minded he needs to be about this rule of being a king. What are your thoughts, Michelle?
Yeah, it's a warning to her son. Like I said, she's laying out some of the things, that he needs to be careful of, and warning him, about these things. And like you said, what do mothers do? I've got 3 sons. Um, and, you know, over the years, especially like you said, at dating age, I'm like, be careful. I've always been one to make my opinion loudly known, I guess you would
Oh
say.
yeah, in my house, I'm called biblical mom.
Yeah.
Yep.
And listen to boys don't like to listen to until they get like about 25. It's like they don't have a something between their ears that they need.
Right.
It's like they just shut you off. And when you need to be really careful, because I know with my boys, I've said, you may want to get rid of that one right away. I just don't think it's going to work out. And I'm not being mean to the person. I'm just saying what I see. And if you act loud and trashy and you come around my house with my son, um, I'm going to say, I may not say it, but the second he says, Mom, what do you think? He's going to get an earful.
Right.
Because it's
Right.
happened before. And each and every time I've been right. So listen to your parents. We may old and you may think we're just old buddy duddies or whatever, but you better listen. And that's what she's doing here. She's trying to warn him, trying to warn her king son, that he's got a lot of things extra above and beyond probably to look out for. But she don't want him getting messed up with no woman that's gonna, make it hard on him.
Well, and think about King David and, some of the problems that happened with King David and especially King Solomon. He got involved with all these kinds of pagan women, went off into idolatry himself, building, temples and statues and pillars to his pagan wives' gods.
Yep.
This is something, if we could try to get through to, and this principle is timeless. Okay. Don't be unequally yoked with unbelievers. Okay. This spans across time, because when you do that, you are in for a world of hurt. Okay. Now, can God forgive? Yes, he can. What do you do if you're already married to an unbeliever? Okay. Well, that's where 1 Peter 3 comes into play. But just starting off, a lot of times, and I was thinking about this, Michelle, when you were talking, it seems like and women are this way too. I can remember as a very young, teenager, I wouldn't listen to my parents for nothing, because I thought I know better than them. They're just old. They're fuddy duddies. They don't know anything. They don't know what real love is. They don't know what it's like. And boy, it wasn't until I got much, much older did I realize, oh, I should have listened. I should
Yeah.
have listened.
Oh yeah, we've all been there. I mean, my dad tried to tell me, and I was not having it. So we live and we learn things. And chances are, if your parents are sitting there telling you something, they've either been through it themselves or they know someone close to them that has, and they know
Right.
what the outcome is. So, listen, and we do make mistakes. I've tell my dad now, I said, boy, I wished I'd have listened to you. He said, yeah, you should have. So,
Right. Yeah.
but
Well, and we don't try to come down on our children, to be killjoys or anything. It's because we may have already walked the path that we see them starting to walk, and we know where that path's going to lead. And we don't
Yes.
want to see them go through the heartache and the struggle and falling flat on their face like we had to do. And so it's like if we could spare them, if they would listen and heed our warning, heed our advice, and actually take the advice and steer clear from this obstacle of danger, it's going to save them a whole world of trouble.
Yeah, and if a parent like Lemuel's mother, Lemuel's mother, um, if she didn't care about her son, she would have never uttered any of these words. Just remember that. I've seen parents not say nothing to their kids, and I don't know. Well, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. A lot of parents just don't give a crap. Um, so
Or it's like, and don't be don't be afraid of offending your child.
yeah, no,
The worst mistake you can make is thinking you are your child's best friend. You are not their best friend. You are their mother or you are their father. You love them. You can have, I think it's to some degree, you can have friendship. I mean, probably
yeah,
maybe later in life, but still, even when you're my age, if your parents are still alive, you are still the child. They are still the parent. You never stop respecting your parents, no matter how old they are. They will
yeah,
still always be wiser and more knowledgeable than you. They
yeah,
have lived longer. They've been through life. And so don't ever fear that, oh, well, I can't say anything because I'm going to hurt his feelings or I'm going to hurt her feelings. You could watch how you say something, but if something needs to be said, it needs to be said, and don't beat around the bush because you may be, saving them as by fire, pulling them out of the fire, so to speak.
yeah, yeah. If she cares a lot for her son, and you can tell the way that this is worded, and I see a loving, caring mother in these first verses. That's what I see, and not being mean or hateful, just warning him of all these things that could happen, and that's what I'm seeing.
Well, go ahead and read the next 5 verses.
Okay. Give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. Let him drink and forget his poverty, and remember his misery no more. Open thy mouth for the dumb, and the cause of all such as are appointed to destruction. Open thy mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and the needy. I'm going to stop right there because it seems like 10 goes into a whole different.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So this like finishes out like all of it is about being a mother and a wife, but it seems like the first 9 verses is specifically for a mother to her son,
Yeah.
and just the strong caution and the caution here, unless I'm misunderstanding, it's against being overtaken with alcohol.
Yeah, I think the first part of it is, and I think it's saying people may, like, say, if you drink a glass of wine and it relaxes you enough to where you can just gather your thoughts for a while. Um, when I studied this before, and if you go out and you get drunk and you're just trying to forget your life's problems, they're still going to be there when you come back to reality.
You'll only be able to escape it for a little bit until you sober up. Then it's all right back, and you still have to deal with it. I mean, the
Yeah,
more you drink, the more you ruin your health, the more you ruin the relationships around you. So it's better to just deal with it. Deal with
yeah,
your problems.
And people that are afflicted, say if you're going through something and you sit down and you um, drink some, maybe you just need some rest for a little while. We see a lot of examples in the Bible of wine helping the stomach, and um, I know with myself, I'm not a big drinker, but if I do drink some, I sleep well. Maybe you just need to rest for a while better than you typically do, and that might help you. I don't, you know, I don't think the second part of it is saying, just there's a time for that. Have a little bit of wine if you're in afflicted, but not be a heavy drinker, because you may, um, what, like I had friends that would drink some, and I've had them lose their wallets. I've had them with a load of money in it. Um, I've had them go out and do stupid stuff that that they regretted the next day. So I think she's warning him there just to keep his head, not to sit around and drink all the time, and um, something bad could happen.
Well, and like I'm looking closely at verse 6. Give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. The
Yeah,
first part almost sounds like maybe if somebody has been wounded to the point they're almost at the point of
the death. Yeah,
that sometimes the only thing you can do to ease their suffering until they pass. I mean,
yep,
you've seen movies where they're told to, just take a sip of whiskey or something like that, because maybe it numbs the pain just a little
yep,
bit. This would be like an act of um,
easing, keeping them comfortable.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
and wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. I mean, yes, sometimes because it says, let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more. Okay, maybe sometimes that's appropriate, but I certainly don't think she is saying to have that be the standard, you
yeah,
know, that's all you do. I mean, because obviously you would not caution your son to just go out and want people to just become alcoholics. You
yeah,
would encourage them, okay, you're gonna have a drink, you're gonna have a drink, I can't stop you, but then let's start to deal with the problem. How can I help you start to deal with the problem? Because then it says, open thy mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy.
yeah. In the verse before that, it says, "Open thy mouth for the dumb, in the cause of all such as are appointed to destruction." So yeah, it's just a warning, I think, against that, and what trouble it could cause them. Um, and with the people that are sick and that are dying at this day and time, a lot of times they give them things like morphine, and you hear the term all the time, just make them comfortable, because that's all that can be done at that point.
Oh, yeah, that's what hospice is all about,
Yeah,
making them comfortable, and a lot of times, I mean, at least I'm sure it was with your mother too, but, like, with my mom, she was on hospice, and they made her comfortable, she took morphine,
yeah,
and it just helped take the pain away,
yeah,
and if we didn't have anything like this back then, it could have been strong drink. you
yeah.
know, to just help make the person comfortable, make them sleepy, be able to sleep until the time of their passing.
Yeah, that's something too that we need to mention. Bible times in the Old Testament, well, it wasn't like modern day. So you have to really think as you're reading through stuff, you know, this was their version of maybe morphine, uh,
Right.
because they didn't have things like that. So we have to keep that in clear mind as we're reading. Well, they talk about using different things for medicine all through the Old Testament. So,
Yep, they sure do.
yeah.
All right. Okay, so now are we ready to go ahead and we can probably well do we want to go ahead and maybe we'll just because this is verse 9 is kind of like a good stopping point because then verse 10 kind of goes into a whole different area
Yeah,
of discussion. So maybe this is a good time to give like our final thoughts, and then we can pick back up in verse 10 in 2 weeks.
yeah, that sounds good. And that'll give time to just kind of study on this and maybe get some see if we can pull anything else out of it, the first 9 verses before next week. And yeah, and 10 is like a whole different set of ball set. It's a different ball game.
Yep. Yep, it is. Yes, it is. I mean, it's all addressed to her son,
Yeah,
dealing with, but it's dealing with different things. It seems like the first 9 verses deals with his ability to rule and judge righteously in dealing with the poor and the needy, those that are afflicted. There is the brief mention not to give thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings. But it seems like the first 9 verses is kind of broken up into just being a righteous ruler overall. And then, of course, what's going to help that ruler is going to be further explained in the woman he actually ends up taking as a wife, as a queen. And so that's probably a good place to end. Everyone, just stay safe out there. If you didn't hear, if you're just tuning in, we talked about 20 minutes starting into this session, just kind of about what's going on locally here in the US with the winter storm warning. We talked about just different ways that you can either help yourself and your own family, if you're lacking power, electricity, there's some things that you can do to just help you be able to sustain better, but then also thinking about ways that you can help others maybe in your immediate area that who may be going without, that are lacking, just different ways that you can go in and help other people, because we don't know how have you heard the weather forecast? Do we know how long this storm is supposed to last? I mean, is it still saying like several more days, or
I've not checked. My husband actually mentioned something about it this morning and how big the front was. Today, I've been mostly looking at our weather here because we're expecting something tonight. So I've not been focused on the broad picture of the storm. We just talked about it for a little bit this morning and checked on the kids, and so I'm not real sure, but I know that as it sit day before yesterday, it had already been a few days ordeal. So, and he
well,
did,
and it's sweeping through the US, right? It's
yeah,
like, you see, when you think of your cold fronts, it starts off of one coast and it just seems to kind of like sweep across the US. And so
now,
eventually all these states are going to be affected from one degree or another.
yeah, yeah, that's what it looked like when I was looking at the weather map, and it is huge.
Right. And so, you just do the best that you can. If you're able to get out and go to the store, make sure that you have enough food for, at least a week or two. Make sure you have plenty of extra blankets, because if your electricity would go off at any time, you need to be able to keep warm. Just think of all the little things that you can do. Check on your neighbors, see if there's anything that they need. If you're able to go to the store, but maybe your neighbors are elderly, check on them, see if there's anything that you can get for them, and so there's always ways that we can help each other. And don't let the COVID stop you. A lot of people might be afraid, because of COVID. Okay, well, I would rather have somebody come and check on me, irregardless if they have, the COVID or the threat of COVID, than freezing to death in the winter, because you see what I mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
weigh the risk, it's not worth it.
No.
Especially think about your elderly that lives around you, because the elderly many times do not handle the cold like younger people are able to handle the cold.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we'll be back in 2 weeks. And so you guys, stay safe out there. Do what you can to stay warm. Keep yourselves heated. And check in with your brothers and sisters. If you're able to get online, do a check-in. I see those every now and then. Somebody, on Facebook will check in to say, that they're doing okay. Make sure that you're checking in and letting people know that they're doing all right. All right, guys. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. Hang on with me for a minute, Michelle, afterwards, and we can visit a little bit longer. But to everyone else, you all stay safe. Remember, keep our eyes focused on Jesus Christ, because he's the one that gets us through all the different forms of life. All right, you guys take care. God bless.